Welcome back to From Corporate to Cash Flow. We are Andrea Cannon and Liz Schwab, two pharmacists navigating the process of building time and financial freedom through real estate investing and lending while working our day jobs. Navigating the journey is difficult, but our podcast guests are experts in showing us how it's done. And today we have Evelyn Garcia. Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh man, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited.
Yes, thank you, Evelyn. We would love to jump into your real estate journey here. So first, can you start off by telling us a little bit about, did you have a W-2 job? How did you get interested in real estate? And what are you focusing on in real estate today?
Okay. Honestly, I've been in real estate for almost all my life. My father was a developer here in New York City. But he did pass away about 26 years. Um, and me growing up in that environment, and I thought that, hey, I could do this. So I saw this marketing ad, like, which a lot of people see these days, and for the past 10 years of, you could flip a home, la la la. And I'm like, okay, I could do this. And so I joined the community. And that's how I started my journey. Yeah, just jumped right into it. And I'm here now, almost 10 years later, with a transaction coordination business for going 4 years in September.
Very nice, very nice. And so did the fix and flip come before or after the transaction coordinator business?
Before, before,
Before.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
And then before the fix and flip, did you have a regular
mhm.
job, a W-2 job?
Yes. So I went into that mentorship in 2018. And then it took me, all the setup and learning all the lingo and watching one Zoom after the next, the modules, and just learning process. I was just soaking it all in, maybe like maybe 6 months. But I also took action. I went door knocking almost every single weekend. I, learned what was cold calling, and I cold called. By the 6 months, I already had my first contract to wholesale, and it was an amazing experience because the guy, I went in a couple of appointments, but this particular my first contract, I did everything, and this is something that you really have to do when you want something to have something happen. You have to do everything that possibly you can do to make it happen. So I was like, I'm going to get my first deal, and I'm going to get it done in less than 6 months. I called the guy, I mailed, I door knocked, and the last attempt was when called his ex um, wife. And then he called me up. He was like, wow, woman, you really want my house. He's like, listen, I am moving to Maryland, and I was just going to abandon the house, give it back to the bank. If you want it, you better come right now. And I flew to the house, and I got it on the contract, and that was my first wholesale deal. Um, and then after that, I was really focused on the pre-foreclosure. I always wanted to help, so I went down that direction of just like contacting anybody that was about to lose their house. Um, and I had a couple of houses on the contract, and then here we are, like it was 2018, so 2020, I was doing fantastic, and then COVID came, and then everybody just went to on vacation. Like everybody that was in pre-foreclosure losing their house is like, well, I don't have to worry about anything. Um, yeah, so it just my business wasn't going in the right direction, but I guess God always has a plan. He always does. During the COVID, I actually got my first flip. So I had something to concentrate on, with for that first. Um, it took me like 3 months to close the deal with all the going back and forth, and then, going through the escrow process. So it took me about 3 months, but then it also took me about 9 months to get it to do the whole project, and maybe another 3 months to close the deal again. So it had me occupied. So I was like, okay, this is this is why I went into this whole course. And this is, I wanted to flip. I wanted to, like, have my father so proud of me of like, wow, look at Evelyn, look at her, look at, she's actually doing what I did. I was like, every little second of me doing that repair and just painting and just sanding and breaking things too as well. It was all of the thoughts of my dad. It was very emotional, that first flip. But then after that, I was like, man, do I really want to go back into acquisitions of looking at for that other needle in the haystack? Because it took me almost 2 years to find that needle in the haystack and finding my first flip. That's where transaction coordination came in. And I was like, okay, I actually really like this. And I've been doing it for almost 4 years now. And with doing transaction coordination, actually two deals, creative deals, fell on my lap, and I have my two investment property that I bought creatively with subject to transaction, and yeah, it's been a really awesome. It's been amazing, but it's been a struggle too as well. It's not. It's been really hard.
Yeah, no, that's a good story, especially, being able to go in your dad's footsteps for a little bit there and him being able to see that. That's really neat to have that come full circle. So with the transaction coordinator position that
Mhm.
you are, I'm sorry, job basically that you started, did you have your other like W-2 going at the same time, or did you decide to leave that to start the transaction coordinator
No,
business?
actually, okay. So it just like I said, like I'm a big faith of God always has a plan. When I did finish the flip, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So my former partner was like, okay, so you should do transaction coordination. I was like, but transaction coordination is a lot to do with like you need to be available with the escrow, the title companies, the attorneys. How am I going to do that while I'm still in my W 2 job? So, lo and behold, my aunt calls me one day and she was like, I need to retire and I want you to take over my job. And that was my job to take care of my mom. My mom, I became my mom's caregiver. Um, but I built the business so well that I was not like really taking care of her that she, the way she needed to be taken care of. Not that I was a bad daughter or anything like that, but the attention. Um, when they're in that age, they just want all the attention. Like they become like this spoiled little brat. Like, look at me, like you gotta talk to me all day long. And I was like, no, I'm building a business here too as well. So I was like, so it did come to a point that I did need to leave. And but I did find, and again, it just happened so well, so aligned. My other aunt, she's a caregiver, and her patient passed away at almost the same time that I was like, I need to figure this out. I can't juggle both. And she just came to me and she's like, my patient passed away. I was like, oh my God, you're going to be my mom's caregiver. And that's just the way it happened. And it's been uh, about a year and a half.
Wow, okay. Yeah, you're right. That happened in a mysterious way where
Yes.
the two crossover just kind of worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
No, that's
the journey of me just getting here, like I knew when I first started this journey, I was like, oh my God, I had seven plans. I'm not gonna name them all. I had it was A, B, C, D, E, and F. No, I had six actually. I had six. But and one of them I was like, okay, you know, the last one, the F was like, I don't want to say it, like
yeah.
like that's it. I am done. But I knew that I needed to do everything that I can, and I was a property manager for a storage company when I did decide to get into this business. I knew that I needed to put all the money that I had, every single penny. So during during COVID, um, someone needed to stay. And I was like, my son lives in Dallas. I am a single person, and they needed someone to stay at the facility. All I thought about was like more money into marketing, more money into the business that I'm saving. That's all I thought about. I was like, I didn't care about the W-2 and what they needed. I was really being so selfish. I was like, so I lived in a storage unit for about a year and change through the whole COVID while I was doing the flip too as well. And it was just like I was just putting back every money that I saved. Um, I was basically intentionally homeless, I guess you could say.
Oh, wow.
I left everything behind, everything. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a new one. I don't think we've heard that before of living in a storage unit, right? So,
Hmm.
hey, very motivated to get this started and to save that money. So kudos to you. That's a good story right there. A conversation starter for sure. Wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about your transaction coordinator business.
So since I'm an investor myself, and that's the field that I decided to go into, and so many people ask me, so why don't you just get your real estate license? I was like, because I don't want to be a realtor. I never wanted to be. So why am I going to do that? And I actually attempted like twice. Like I took the course and got to like the end and never took the exam. And I did it twice. And I was like, no, I don't want this exam. Get it out of here. I want to be an investor. So my transaction coordination business is 100% caters to investors, wholesalers, buyers. And it's a whole different category when you doing transaction coordination for investors because um, they deal with high urgency situations. They have to close in 2 weeks. They have to stop an auction or this thing. It's just numerous of like different situations, and you have to be available. Love all of that urgency. Like I love the drama.
Yeah, yeah. And so, for anyone who doesn't know, who may be listening to this podcast, who maybe is not yet in real estate investing, can you share a little bit more
Uh,
about what transaction coordinating is?
Oh, okay. Is so what we do is I really just call it like when people don't understand what a transaction coordinator is, we are expediter of the escrow process. We expedite and when I mean expedite, we make it sure that it happens in in the time frame that we have. So I coordinate everything. So from opening the escrow to making sure that like the payoff, the title commitment it comes in. I read the title commitment. I make sure other requirements that is needed are met. If there are liens that like right now I have tons of stories, but this one particularly right now because I'm dealing with it right now. um, she inherited the property and there is a lien on the title commitment, and she's like, my parents don't own this, so I have to do deep research, and hopefully I get a release of this lien that's on a title commitment from the bank that is saying that it's still there. So these are the little things that I work on the back office. And it's so much more. So anything and everything that has to do with trying to get this deal closed, that's what we do.
I feel like transaction coordinators are like the glue that holds every single deal together.
Mhm.
And sometimes the glue actually takes action and does even more proactive work. So it sounds like, I mean, what would we do without our transaction coordinators, right? So we really, really, really appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That's amazing. That's yeah. I thank you for sharing that though, because like I said, not everyone who's listening is aware of what a transaction coordinator is, and it is different from being a realtor, right? And so I think some people get those two things confused, and some realtors have their own transaction coordinator, so it's like then it muddies the water even further there as well. But
Mhm,
it's a really cool role within real estate. And how do you see your business as a transaction coordinator evolving going forward?
mhm. Um, you know, it really. depends on the market, because I'm gonna be honest, like last year it was weird all around, and it was a very tough market last year. But this year it just started out so great, and um, this weekend I just got 8 new files to open up escrow in just one day, and it just like, and the last week I have four, and it keeps on and on and on. And you guys may not think like, wow, that's only like 10, well, 12 transactions, it's not a lot, but in the investment world it kind of really is, because it's just like, again, we go after situations and try to help the homeowner get out of, and it's not an easy task. um, but I see it going very well this year. But the business really does rely on the real estate market. I'm not going to leave it. My dreams is that it's just going to continue working. I have um, 3 TCs with me, and I just would love to continue building it, but I don't want to like work in the business anymore. If that makes sense. I want to build
Yeah.
it and just move on.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I think we're seeing a lot of trends towards people trying to get others to take over, right? Because you're
Mhm.
still heavily involved if you have to show up to work every day and manage everything. And so now I'd like to ask a more specific transaction coordinator question. Can't talk either. And my question is there like a more common difficult scenario that you tend to see more frequently that you have to figure out as a TC?
Um, that's a loaded question. What do I need to figure out as a TC? I think the biggest challenge is just like communication, especially with a new client, because you just never dealt with them. Just how to communicate. But in the transaction, like, I guess it's just like these pop up liens and judgments that you have no idea that we're gonna, pop up just until you get the title search. And I have to be like the investigator now, because that's why I'm hired. I'm here to be the expediter and the professional, and how to navigate, and where to go and who to speak with, and just get to the bottom line. I think that's the
Yeah.
number, like those are the two things. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Working with transaction coordinators, I don't take this the wrong way. I used to think it would be such a cool job, and I was like, wow, that would be frustrating. Just all the things that you guys have to figure out, and all the people you have to communicate with, and all the different documents, and like it's a big ask for someone to figure that
Mhm.
out, right? And there's just so many things that could go wrong if certain things aren't caught. So there's just a lot on your shoulders of having to get that all correct.
It's a lot of pressure, um, that I think, our clients don't realize. Some of them do. Some of them are very, patient and understanding, but you know what? I think majority of them don't. They don't understand. Um, but it's okay. We are here to just be that person for them to be like, it's going to be okay. We got, this is where we were hired. We're going to get to the closing, um, and just,
Yeah.
hmm
Oh, absolutely. And then, one of the reasons that Andrea and I actually do lending on the side as our jobs, because our main job, of course, is to be a pharmacist and work in pharmacy, is to create more like passive income, right? So I'm wondering, how has your job working as a transaction coordinator maybe like transitioned your views on passive income? Like, has that changed at all for you of how you view making money?
Yes, because transaction coordination is definitely not a passive income
Yeah.
at all. It's a service business. That's like one of the reasons why I said, like, I don't think I want to stay in this business. Yeah, it could keep on running, but without me, because it's a service business, and you always got to be out there, just getting new clients constantly. And and real estate too as well. I think it's in any part of the industry that you decide to go into. It's always about that finding that needle in the haystack, and you just got to keep going and keep going and keep looking and looking for that needle and have those right clients. And you do good by your clients, they're going to keep on coming, and maybe even refer people. But honestly, I know they don't want to refer me because it's like, no, if you get too busy, how are you going to take care of me? But I do have some of them that are like humble enough and understand and just like, you're so awesome. I'll share you with somebody. And he's always encouraging and always giving me like the awesome shout outs. Like, you have to get in contact with, Evelyn. But yeah.
Yeah, no. It's funny you say that because there's like a delicate line of wanting to promote someone that's really great,
Yeah.
but you also don't want them to get too busy that they can't continue to like work on everything that you have too, right?
Mhm,
So you're like, I
mhm,
kind of just want to
mhm.
like keep them to myself, but I still want them to succeed. So I understand what you're saying there. It's like a little bit of selfishness. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm also curious. I asked you that money question before because we like to get advice from people on our podcast about financial independence and people
Mhm.
just understanding, how to make money, what to do with their money, what makes sense for them. So let's talk about someone who's maybe like newer in their financial independence journey of trying to just understand everything, right? Maybe they just graduated from college, or maybe they're like a new investor. Like, what piece of advice is like would you give them in 30 seconds of something that you've learned?
Okay. So I'm going to give the advice that I just gave my son this morning. Is actually know what are your expense and how much money comes in and how much money you need to save. And it's not, you can't wing it. You really can't. You can't just like, oh, my bill is due next week, I don't even know how much it is. And no, you need to really know how your finance, where it's going, where it's coming, and where you want it to go. You're not going to go anywhere without it being like in black and white with your numbers. You're really not. And I also, told them like, hey, me being an entrepreneur, I needed to learn how to manage the business in the right way financially. And I read the book Profit First, and it came down to a very simple way of like, he said in the, and I'm sure people done this before, and I've done it, but I don't like physically do it anymore. But back in the 1920s, it's like in the Depression, they had the little envelope system, and it's basically that's what it is. You need to have your money, okay, allocated. And he that book breaks it down into five. I think it's five bank accounts that you should be having. And I told my son, I was like, okay, so your rent is this and that, and just you have to know where your money going in. It has to be black and white.
Yeah, that's some really good advice because people
Mhm.
sometimes get in over their heads. And then one of my favorite things about the Profit First book was just that so many times people take the money that they make from their business and they want to reinvest it into their business. And I'm not saying that that's bad, bad idea because sometimes you really want
Mhm.
to go all in. You lived in the storage unit. I mean, I know you know all about going all in, but at the same time, you have to be able to live a little and enjoy a little at the same time, right? And a lot of business owners do not do that. So that is some fantastic advice, and I
Yes.
appreciate that. I think that's kind of me and Liz's approach to life in general is we do want to work hard, but we also want to enjoy, living at the same time because I don't think necessarily everyone does prioritize that. So thinking about your
Mhm.
entrepreneurial journey, being an entrepreneur is very different from being a W-2 professional, and you have, different ways to set up your day and things like that. So I'm wondering if there's any particular habits or routines that you've developed as an entrepreneur to stay focused and on target with your goals.
um Funny. It's like people it's very funny because it's like you don't want to feel like you waking up, going to work at the same type of hours. La, 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 I could do whatever I want. But honestly, setting the alarm at the same time and giving yourself at least, I mean, you could give yourself 30 minutes, but at least an hour to just decompress. Because when you are an entrepreneur and you straight go into work, you don't have like the commute. What me for myself, I'm a transaction coordinator, so I work from home. You don't have the commute, so don't get into the habit of just waking up and just go right into it. Look at your calendar, breathe and eat your breakfast, and um, just think about what you're going to be doing during the day. And that's what I do. I give myself 1 hour every single morning. Just give myself just 1 hour, and then I go into my first meeting with my team, and and then I go into another meeting with another team, and it just goes on and on and on and on until honestly, sometimes I just work until I go to sleep. So giving yourself that break in the morning is so important, and that's what I do for myself. Mhm.
Oh, that's such good advice. I've been trying to develop a morning routine for like at least a year now, and I'll do really good. And then my schedule gets kind of crazy, and I really suck at this. Like,
Mhm.
it just things just aren't consistent on my end, and I need to probably do a better job of that, because I do agree when I don't have to jump right into the day, it goes a lot better because it can be a lot more intentional. So that's some really good advice, even while I have my W-2. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So thinking about, I mean, you're already giving us some great advice, but is there anything that you've learned in your journey so far that you wish you would have known before or sooner in your journey?
Mhm. Mhm. Um, I guess I think when I first started the business, I and it could happen with 21, but I guess give yourself grace and time, that it doesn't just happen overnight. And that's one thing that, when I first went into this journey, I thought I was just going to become this huge millionaire, investor, having buildings everywhere, maybe even build a skyscraper. I was going to be I was like, I was giving it my all. And it may not pan out that way. So just give yourself some grace, because there's a lot of like romance out there in social media, especially in the real estate world. If it doesn't happen right away, it will happen, and just keep going. But I wish somebody would have told me, like, hey, slow down. It's going to happen. So I wish, I had that, because it was just like it was really stressful that, you try to do everything you can to just make this thing work. So I just wish I would, someone would have told me, or could tell myself, just like, hey, take it easy.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I feel like so much of the time it's like go, 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 do more, do faster. Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like everything's ramped up speed wise. And so you're right. I think every now and then you just need to sit back and just
Mhm.
stop and breathe and maybe just reevaluate. Because someone that's functioning at that high of capacity, going 1,000 miles per hour, 24/7, like you're also not going to have a lot of time to reflect,
Mhm.
right? And see, like, is this what I want? Is it going in a direction that we want, et cetera, et cetera. So I
Mhm.
think that's definitely a good piece of advice here.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
I'm sorry, a lot of people do see like a lot of people like, and either they're making it or they're faking it, but they see a lot of stuff happening in social media that they need to. They're like, well, this one is doing a deal, this one is doing a deal, and this one's doing 10 deals, and this one, and everybody, no. They probably watch 100 videos, but they did not do 100 transactions. Trust me, because I'm the transaction coordinators. I know who's closing deals. Just take a break, go on your own speed, and you'll be fine.
yeah, I could talk about that probably for like 20 hours straight. The social media thing. So it's a very good point. A very good point. So thank you for saying that. I talk with Andrea about that a lot. So it's funny that you just brought that up. So thank you. And then I wanted to circle back on a comment you made before, wanting to maybe I don't want to say like step away, but be maybe like less involved in the transaction coordinator, right? So like what
Mhm.
steps are you taking right now? Like what does that look like for you?
It's gonna be funny what I'm about to say, but my first step that I'm gonna take is a long vacation. I haven't, and believe me, after this, it's just like before this. I mean, before this, I used to go to two different countries every single year, and the past almost decade, it was like all my vacations has just been network, real estate network, or business network, or anything like that. So I honestly, that's gonna be my first step. I am planning a 30-day trip, backpack trip to South America. But then after that, yes, that's that. I mean, like it sounds weird, right? It really does, because you'd be like, well, I don't know. You should start like planning what is going to be your next step, which I am. I am working on my next step, by the way. I don't know if you want to get talk about what is my next step after, maybe when I come back from vacation, or what I'm planning to do. But yeah, am I in the financial ready step to just like retire? Heck no, heck no. So um I my next step is something that it's really dear to my heart, that I really want to make happen. And I think with having that and my passion and my heart and my dreams coming true, it's actually going to lead me to the direction of financially set free, that I could just, yeah, go on more vacations.
We love that. In fact, my next question, which is the last like kind of wrap up question, really was more about a bucket list trip you have upcoming. And here you are sharing your South America backpacking trip. So where are you going? We want the details.
Um, I'm going to 5 different countries. I did book a tour because I really don't have anyone to have that ability to just pick up for 30 days and just disappear, right? So I'm stopping in Rio de I cannot pronounce it. In Brazil, Rio de Janeiro.
Rio
Oh
de
my
Janeiro,
god.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Oh my God. I butchered that. But then I'm going down, and then I'm gonna go to Argentina, and then I'm gonna go back up to Bolivia, to Chile, and then I'm gonna end up in Peru.
Oh, that sounds like
Yeah.
an absolutely magical trip. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you going and you're going by yourself?
I booked a trip that is going by myself, but I just put on my Facebook in search of someone that could take a 30-day backpack with me in September. So that's happening in September, and I can't wait. Mm.
That is going to be absolutely incredible. That's going to be so nice.
If
So, if people wanted to get in touch with you to work with you on your transaction coordinator business or any other connections or collaborations, what would be the best way to do that?
um, the best way, let's see. You could go to my website and book a call with me. I think that's like the best way, because I love to the one-on-one Zooms. I'm actually an introvert. If you don't believe it, I am. I get so overwhelmed when I go into these big, huge meetups, even if it's like 10 people, I think that's big. So I really do prefer the one-to-one Zooms, and you could book a 15-minute call with me, which hardly ever lasts 15 minutes. So definitely goes over 15 minutes, but it's it's anchor, like anchor in a boat, light like a light bulb, tc.com. Anchorlighttc.com.
I love that. I love that. And that's the best way to get in touch with you for a deal if they need a transaction coordinator or
Yeah.
maybe just some advice on a deal if it would work. Maybe
Mhm.
they can ask you both those kind of questions, all that. Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
Yes. Anything from, if you have a probate situation, or weird lien, whatever.
Perfect.
Creative financing, it's my jam. So yeah. It doesn't have to specifically be that you have a transaction that needs to get to close. You could reach out to me whenever.
Okay. No, that's awesome. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Well, this has been super informative. I know that, like I said before, transaction coordinators are seriously the glue that holds everything together, and we would not get any deals closed without transaction coordinators. So thank you for everything that you do, because there is so many
Thank you.
personalities you have to juggle and so many things you have to move forward on and so many complicated situations. And so it's been really cool to get to chat with you about some of this through this process. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. It was so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, everyone else, for listening to this week's episode of From Corporate to Cash Flow. We will catch you next week. Hey, it's Andrea. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, I'd love it if you hit subscribe. Thanks so much.